Today we're in Cambridge and I'm about to sculpt Professor Simon Baron-Cohen, who is a very famous professor on autism for children.
We're delighted as Cantab to be hosting tonight in support of Blue Smile, the charity working for the well-being of children.
It's a Cambridge-based charity and Professor Baron-Cohen is the patron.
So what's unique about Blue Smile is that they send people into schools to see children. Sometimes they're seeing them one-to-one for counselling or psychotherapy. Sometimes it's not just talking, but it's therapy through doing, like art therapy. Multiple kind of approaches to helping children who are basically struggling with depression or anxiety or trauma for a variety of reasons.
We're doing a lovely art fair. It's the first one in the UK this year, and because everything was pushed back, and it's called An Eclectic Eye.
There's four of us exhibiting here. We've sort of known each other for a while, and fairly sort of complementary sort of offerings of art, but with slight sort of nuances.
We have over 100 paintings, ranging in price from £500 to £50,000, and the brief was that it should be as eclectic as possible. So we've got traditional works of art from the 19th and 20th century, but we've also got a wonderful array of contemporary pieces, and we've got sculpture too. So we've got a lot going on down in the ballroom. It's a wonderful room, as you know. It's huge.
I think it's been here since the beginning of the 19th century. It's had many iterations, but it's always been quite big. And then it was bought about 5 years ago and completely renovated. It's a really wonderful occasion to bring people together, people who might not necessarily go to an art fair, people who are then seeing artists working in real time, because quite often we see the finished product, right? We see a painting, we see a sculpture, we don't actually see it being made.
It's a very bizarre feeling to think that someone wants to make a sculpture of me, and so I'm kind of both excited and a little bit nervous about how is it all going to turn out.
Often with sculpture you think of this very sort of cerebral, very sort of considered approach, but to see something that's so instantaneous is going to be exciting.
To actually see Francis work with Simon and to see it all taking shape in front of us, a really exciting and immersive experience.
It's been so exciting to see art in its formation. So often we see the end product, but it's wonderful to see the creation happening in a live environment.
I was sort of surprised that as an artist she's happy to work under time pressure. So she's doing this sculpture in effectively 2 hours, when you could imagine some artists might want to take 2 days or 2 weeks over it. The audience is also part of it, that she's not doing this in the privacy of a studio, she's doing it in public.
I think it's completely astonishing the way Francis Segelman can capture the essence of a person in 2 hours.
It's quite extraordinary, the pressure she's under, and yet she seems to thrive on it. I mean, you know, I've seen her doing it in the House of Commons, and she just thrives on people milling around and, you know, 100 or 200 people there, it doesn't matter to her. She just locks herself into this sort of tunnel of vision of the person who's in front of her and creates an amazing likeness.
Well, we connected very quickly on a number of different levels, talking about our families and our family histories, and also the work that we do, that I do and what she does. Part of what she does, which I think is really wonderful, is she regularly makes sculptures for charities.
She's just a very sympathetic person, and she kind of gels with their personalities somehow or other. You know, there's this intimate relationship while she's sculpting the person. They talk a little bit between them, but nobody else talks to her while she's doing it. So she's a very warm, sensitive person, and somehow she gets to their personalities, and it's reflected in the sculpture in the end.
It's not really about raising money, I think it's about raising awareness, and that's why we're doing it tonight.
Evenings like this are vital for charities to be able to promote our work in the community and ultimately raise awareness of what we're doing with children and how we're supporting mental health and emotional well-being.
The struggle that parents have with children and the struggle that children have with it. There's so many different forms of autism, and I would think after this terrible pandemic 2 years, it's been, you know, it must be awful in some families' homes.
If we don't intervene, to help these children, we know what will happen. We know that if you leave a child struggling, effectively you're creating a long-term set of problems. So a lot of the difficulties we see in adulthood are because there wasn't early intervention. It's important to recognise that mental health difficulties are actually very common. About 1 in 4 children will struggle with anxiety, depression, or some other mental health issue. The other thing is that attitudes need to change. We need to make it really comfortable for people to talk about how they're feeling. It's really important that they can approach an adult, a friend, a teacher, and just say that they're struggling, and that we don't stigmatise people who are struggling.